right, Dirk, we're live. Why don't you begin by introducing yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Ian. So Dirk Abeel, I think a lot of people already know me. I spent my biggest career in the health and life sciences driving, let me say, omnichannel transformation, especially the last years, obviously. But also recently, I kicked off my own company, Acceleration. But then also I finally decided to join Pitcher, which for me is really a great opportunity in connecting the strategy with the practice on how to drive omnichannel acceleration.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Yeah, no, it's great to have you on board. So Ian Ballantyne, been a pitcher for 9 years, been speaking at nextnormal for quite some time as well. The previous panel was talking about face-to-face. Hopefully Dirk and I will be able to present in our next meeting in person. So the topic today is omnichannel. And omnichannel has been a buzzword for a few years now. Previously, it might have been multi-channel, and numerous organizations within health and life sciences have been implementing omnichannel. And we're wondering what's next, because everyone's got a different approach. And it would be interesting to hear from you, Dirk, where you see this space going in the coming years.
Thank you, Ian. Before I do that, the most asked question, can you see my screen, to be sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I've seen happening is a lot of great things, of course. We've seen really an acceleration of the digitization in the health and life sciences industry. So a lot of new kind of tools, platforms have appeared and keep on appearing. So which also has resulted, I would say, in what I call a bit a jungle. And that's why I like to show you this slide, is that a lot of sales reps, of being it key account managers, medical science liaisons, as mentioned in the previous discussion, have so many applications they have to juggle with that it is impacting their level of efficacy. And this is translating in some business pain points. Because if you lose your focus, there is really a risk that you are starting to forget doing things, or you become really you try to shy away from certain tasks because it's too cumbersome. And also even we see that sometimes compliance is at risk. So a lot of good things have happened, but there's still a kind of a challenge where I think that the industry is seeking for an answer for.
Well, the topic before was coaching and, selecting a few key components for a rep or an MSL to learn on. And I believe the same applies to omnichannel, right? It's having a very tailored approach to what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's what I like to say is, when I was at Reckitt and I was at Nestle, what I was looking for as my differentiation point is really one platform with some characteristics which are enumerated here. First of all, really a platform that is enabling cross-fertilization and cross-collaboration between the different functions. We heard it also before in the coaching session, that, okay, medical science liaisons, medical scientific affairs, marketing, sales, everyone is still sitting a bit on its own little island. So technology is there to help us in closing that gap. At the same time, what I would like to see, what I wanted to see sitting in the industry, was also a platform which is agile and at the same time innovative, so which allows me really to scale up fast and to have a fast go-to-market approach. And if you combine that with best of breed, everyone knows the story. You choose a CRM platform, you build around it, and you get stuck. So this best of breed approach for me is something fantastic, where based on the evolution in the industry and based on the right APIs, you can swap and you can change and take really what is the best suiting my changing environment in which I am working. And if you then even look at vendors which are out there, and often it are some smaller vendors who are closer to the customer, they develop their products together with key customers, which then can also scale up afterwards, also leading to what I would say, providing a kind of a self-service portal approach, so that everyone and everything is getting properly connected. So that's what I think that the industry is looking for. At least that was what I was looking for when I was still at that side of the equation.
Yeah, you're already sounding a lot more technical than maybe a year ago, because you've obviously got a lot more experience on the platform side of things. I think the key element here is, omnichannel, great initiative. ultimately it's how can we enable our, our field force or our MSLs to engage the customers? Because in the end of the day, the omni experience has to come across to the customers in their engagement with a specific individual, but also with a brand, because every touch point is key, whether it's an in-person interaction, whether it's an interaction with a microsite, whether it's a telephone, SMS, whatever it is. It's very important that interaction represents the brand that you stand for.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head, Ian, because at the end of the day, and we mentioned, and we heard it already over the last couple of days, it's about customer centricity. What is the customer looking for? Why is the customer willing to engage with the company, Health and Life Sciences? What are their preferred channels? And helping them doing the same with their patients. So if I translate that again a bit, and you're right, I'm quite pleased and privileged that from a strategic perspective now, I can really look also at the technical perspective and bringing both together. What I mentioned before was what I was looking for, and what I believe we can provide today is what I call the one-stop shop solution platform, where you really bring all relevant data and content together. And this allows you, and if you remember I mentioned this API approach, where you really can connect to third-party kind of data, content providers, and etc. So you pull all this data in, you do content conversation, you do data consolidation, which allows you, and you mentioned it, to develop a customer 360-degree overview. Really looking at what is this customer doing, what is this customer looking for, how is he acting or interacting on what we are doing in our engagement process. And of course, every company in health and life sciences has a segmentation and a micro-segmentation strategy, which allows them, if you look on this solid backbone, which is sitting on the bottom of this slide, then really sales reps, MSLs, key account managers can really start talking meaningfully about their product or their branded solution, like I like to call it, supported by the right content based on a solid kind of metadata tagging, creating the experience where a healthcare professional is looking for, and hopefully also that he can replicate that with his patients when it is relevant, and properly supported by relevant engagement activities, which could be, for example, CMEs and other services. If you would translate it, then if you put the roof on the house, then you could say, okay, from a functional kind of approach or kind of bundles, key account management, of course, becoming more and more important in big institutions and satellites, content automation based on this whole segmentation, metadata tagging, artificial intelligence kicking in, starting to provide the right content at the right moment, omnichannel engagement from planning to execution, where it's relevant, sample and order management, account planning and execution, and to connect with the previous topic, obviously coaching and enablement, which is very critical, especially in today's reality. And what is also very important, of course, also assuring that everything you do in this engagement or this digital engagement ecosystem is happening in a compliant manner. And you see, this is one slide representing everything what we are looking for, and that's what we want to provide to customers and to their customers and patients, is a seamless experience in one environment. So the one-stop shop solution platform.
Yeah, what sticks out to me here is that the customer is in the middle, and everything is all about data driving all of these key engagements. And in the next normal, looking forward in the way omnichannel is going to progress, there's going to be more and more data, because there'll be more and more different interactions, and tying that all in together into one experience is going to be key here, to really say, hey, I have a clear omnichannel strategy to my customer engagement.
Yeah, and if I relate back to what Marcus West said in the previous session, it's not about creating a ton of data. It's about deciding what are the relevant insights I want to provide to all the people in my organization, and also, why not, to healthcare professionals, and helping them doing the same with their patients again. So I always like to say, when you build dashboards and you want to have insights, try to stick to it, something very simple, because otherwise you end up with the cockpit of a Boeing or an Airbus and you get lost. So focus on what is critical in driving advocacy for your branded and unbranded solutions. That's what it is about. And if you look at this here, this is just an example how you could materialize what I just mentioned, and it is driven by this whole one-stop shop solution platform I just mentioned, is looking from a commercial excellence perspective, looking how do we integrate sales and marketing supported by medical scientific affairs and other key functions, and how do we also incorporate the closed loop feedback is a journey to say, okay, if an MSL, a key account manager, or a medical sales rep is going to reach out, what needs to happen before, that's in blue, is of course also the whole content piece, from the creation to repository, distribution, management up to date in an automated manner, so that when they do their planning, they automatically can start looking at what is it that I need for each of my segment of healthcare professionals. Once I start in the execution phase, when we go to the orange piece of the puzzle, where you really see at the right time the relevant kind of information related to the content, to the healthcare professional you're discussing with, capturing in the back again new data, which is then giving us this closed loop feedback about what has worked well, what didn't work as well, and then putting machine learning, artificial intelligence behind, and you come up with a kind of iterative process. So this is what I would say at the end of the day, a company should be able to visualize this whole journey across the omnichannel environment.
So in a nutshell, you're saying the whole customer journey should be visual. Everyone should know different parts of that. And the way then to execute on this is to really have an omnichannel strategy with regards to customer engagement.
Fully aligned with that, Ian. And as you can see, you should be able to do that on one page, that everyone independently to say, okay, content creation and management, that's not my piece of cake, but that you see what is happening, why this is happening, when this is happening, how that is happening, and how in the back the data again are making our interactions more to the point, more to what the customer wants, and creating value to all of these touch points. Because an often asked question is, hey, there are so many channels, digital fatigue, etc. How do you avoid that? For me, it's very simple. If you look at omnichannel and you do any kind of interaction, any kind of engagement with an HCP, and you cannot answer the question, which value do you expect the customer to get out of that interaction or engagement? Stay away from it.
Yeah. So we have 30 seconds left, Dirk. Looking forward, what would you tell the audience is the one thing to keep in mind for omnichannel?
For me, is to keep a holistic view with the customer and their patients at the center, underpinned by a seamless solution platform built on the right data sources.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that with us today. I think Dario is going to pull us off any second now. And have a nice evening, everyone. Thanks for listening.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, too.